It is 12:59. Good afternoon from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Jackson Williams. In the NBA, the conference finals continue as last night in the West, the OKC Thunder punched their ticket to the NBA Finals with a 124-94 win over the Minnesota Timberwolves. Thunder win that series 4-1. In the East, the Indiana Pacers will look to advance to the finals themselves tonight. They lead the Knicks in that series 3-1 with Game 5 tonight. Tip-off set for 7 p.m. Tennessee baseball is back in for regional action tomorrow night at Lindsey Nelson Stadium against Miami of Ohio. First pitch set for 5 p.m. Nashville Soccer Club played to a 2-2 draw with the Columbus Crew last night. Nashville had goals scored by Sam Surge and Hani Mukhtar. They extended their unbeaten streak to 9 games with a matchup with NYCFC looming this Saturday. The kickoff at 3:30. You can catch Will Bowling and Lucas Panzica on the call right here on The Zone starting at 3 p.m. For your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you need to visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone, powered by all 4 Seasons Garage Doors. 615-737-1045 is the number. The Oklahoma City Thunder are moving on to the NBA Finals with a stomping of the Minnesota Timberwolves last night. We didn't get around to it yesterday because we had so much Titan stuff to talk to, but the Indiana Pacers 2 nights ago won 130-121 versus the New York Knicks, taking a 3-1 series lead. It was a fantastic game. This series has been one of the best basketball series I've ever watched. Tyrese Halliburton finished with 32 points, 15 assists, 12 rebounds without a turnover. A historic postseason performance, which is wild. He's the first person since the NBA has tracked turnovers since 1977 and 78, the first player with such a stat line in the postseason. Not only that, Blaine, but Tyrese Halliburton, your Indiana Pacers player. This is such a super important stat that I'm about to read. He threw 77 passes for 444 yards that night during that game, without a single interception, so without a single turnover. So someone put that as that would be the third best by a quarterback in the NFL. Someone tracked how far all of his passes went without an interception. But I just thought that was funny. I look at it and I go, man, these Pacers, they match up well with this Oklahoma City Thunder. They have a chance to take this game, take this series tonight versus the Knicks. How are you feeling about their chances on the road in New York?
Oh, this is going to be a tough one, man. A lot of pressure. I think the Knicks are, I think they're only like 3-6. I could be wrong. I think they have a losing record at home during the playoffs. A lot of pressure is going to be on them to perform. May get a lot of energy at the beginning of the game, but it's not always how you start, it's how you finish. I'm sure hoping the Pacers can close them out, but if I was gambling, I don't even know who's favored. I probably think the Knicks are going to win this one, and then the Pacers get them back at home. But you just never know. You try to close them out as quick as you can. I think they have their number, and I don't think the Knicks quite have figured out how to move the ball. They don't have the depth that the Pacers do. I mean, they have guys coming off the bench. Now, they're 12 deep. Mm-hmm. I love watching, teams and coaches who don't restrict their bench and then believe in those players. And they could sit almost the whole game and then they come off and hit a 3 and be an impact player for a spurt of some minutes. So, man, it's a tough one. Who's favorite? Are the Knicks favorite? I'm going Pacers. I'm going Pacers going to close them out of Madison. I'm going to go there.
I look at it and I go, what Tyrese Halliburton is able to kind of string together this season with the Pacers, it's something about how even when the ball's not in his hands, he's still making a difference on the court with the way that he moves around the court, frees open other people, takes defenders with him, able to do a little bit of picks here and there and all this kind of stuff. He's just him at the controls of the Pacers offense. It's a tall task for defenses, and it's been a tall task for New York so far to kind of stop him because he's playing out of dribble handoffs, running the pick and rolls, and he's getting everyone involved. And it seems like it should be pretty normal in most NBA offenses and on NBA teams, but it feels like what he's being able to do, specifically, again, this game without a turnover, and just a couple nights ago, is a real difference maker for this Pacers team and a real difference maker in this finals game.
Yeah, and I think it's going to boil down to turnovers. I think the Knicks had, I can't remember now. It's 2 nights ago. I think like 12 or so turnovers. It was a high number for them, and that was really the difference. I think here's the true question with Halliburton. Everybody wants to know if he's a superstar. Mm-hmm. That's what they really want to know. And to me, he's evolving right in front of our eyes into a superstar. You just talked about the triple-double that he had. He is the the engine of the Pacers. He can play mid-range. He can go all the way to the rack. He can dish. He always makes the appropriate plays, and he can hit threes. And pretty consistent with all of that. And I saw some highlights a couple days ago of him playing AAU ball. He was doing the exact same thing. And so this guy believes he is, and he, in his mind, knows he's great. Nothing has changed from every level he's gone to. So I think he's right in front of our eyes becoming a superstar, because if you extract him from that team, it's a good team, but it's not the team that it is.
It's like they may make the playoffs kind of team.
He's the quarterback, and he's the point guard, so you got to respect the game. And I think it's because how he looks, how his game looks. People don't like his jump shot, how it looks. But guess what? Nobody care about how it looks. It goes in the bucket. So I think they just, not trying to give his just due. I don't know if the NBA is going to be happy. It's going to, Pacers and OKC going to be in the championship. There's a small market somewhat for NBA standards, so that's going to be interesting. But really good 2 teams. So I'm going with the Pacers. They're going to close them out. Yeah, I'm going with them.
I think with Halliburton, because you're talking about we're seeing him become a superstar, grow into a superstar right before our eyes. Mm-hmm. What does it take for him to become a superstar? Because, can you be a superstar without championships? Because I feel like in the NBA you probably can.
No, I think you can. I think you have to probably at least take your team to a championship. Yeah. I think you got to play. There's people, was Charles Barkley a superstar? He never won one.
Yeah, superstar, for sure. Listen, I remember all those commercials of him fighting Godzilla in the
So there's a laundry list of those guys, but I think you at least have to be able to take, and that was a common denominator when Curry, before, he went to a finals, so that happens. And so I think you just have to appreciate what he brings to the game, and hopefully he can get him to a championship. If he doesn't, that's always going to hang over his head, and if he is really, truly a superstar. So, and we could say that about Ant-Man, and hey, you should just take over the game and forget all the other stuff, and don't get guys involved, and shoot every time. Shoot 30 shots a game.
He's somehow being able to do it all. Yeah. Like he's being able to take the shots, being able to play defense, and being able to distribute and get his other players involved. Because you're talking about 4 other players on this team: Nesmith, Pascal, Miles Turner, Andrew Nembhard, all above average defenders on the floor, but also get involved on offense. It's just a well-built team, and he's driving a well-built team. Yeah.
Well, you also got to give credit to Rick Carlisle. This guy has been a successful coach all across the league, and he runs this motion type offense, and everybody can touch the ball, and it doesn't matter who's in. And if you get an opportunity, you go to the rack, you shoot threes, you're mid-range. It didn't matter. It doesn't matter who's in the game. So that's what I love about it. I saw Poppin coming off the bench, and he hadn't played the whole game in the third quarter, and all of a sudden, boom, he hits 2 threes and then takes it to the rack, and then he's playing great defense. Very athletic unit in totality of their whole team. Young and aggressive, and out there trying to prove something. A lot of those players. So I really like them and OKC. I still think OKC is a better team. I think they're going to win the series, but you just never know. You got to do it and get hot at the right
we
time.
all thought the Knicks were going to win this series, and it hasn't been particularly close as far as the series goes. The games have been close, but the series has not.
I think Bronson's foul trouble. I think they found something there to make sure they get him in foul trouble. I think the Knicks are making a great mistake. I think they need to put probably Bridges or somebody and be effective and a nuisance to Halliburton at the point. You watch how much time he dribbles around and has plenty of time to see the floor. They got to press him a little bit. They got to get up in him, and they got to play some defense, get in his face and know him. And I don't know who that guy should be. To me, if he's the engine, you got to rattle the engine a little bit to at least have a little bit of success.
Not only is there some of Brunson's foul trouble, but also he's got 4 turnovers per game, which is nearly 3 times as many as Tyrese Halliburton. So that's also a big difference right there. What's interesting about the Pacers, because we talk about Oklahoma City and how they built their team and how their team is young, can be together for a little bit. The Pacers are in kind of a similar situation because every starter besides Miles Turner is under contract for at least the next 2 seasons, and the team has control over most of its second unit. So this is a team that could really, be around for the next few years before they have to, start changing the makeup and trying to evolve the team. And that's really good. I think that's good for the NBA to not have players constantly switching and moving and all that kind of stuff. When you can have a couple of these teams and good, exciting young teams build a dynamic kind of starting 4 or 5 for a couple of years, that's really good for the brand, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, it's great. And then you got these young up and coming star players. And the only thing that can fracture OKC to me and the Pacers when they have young, athletic, up and coming teams is people start not being unselfish. They start saying me, like, how can I get my big contract? When my contract is up this year, I got to showcase so I can get the max or super max or whatever it may be. So that then starts layering amongst the locker room, and then that how you can kind of fracture the dynamics on the floor. So that's always interesting because it's such an individualized sport, but at the same time it's a team sport. Different players, they start saying, hey, man, I got to get my 50 mil.
Per Genius IQ tracking, we're talking about the Pacers versus Knicks. Brunson was the defender on 25 screens in New York's Game 4 loss when Halliburton was the ball handler. The most on-ball screens defended by a player against Halliburton in a playoff game in his career. So what they're being able to do is kind of exploit these weaknesses of the Knicks defense that everybody else has had a typically hard time doing in this playoffs. And so, again, you said it earlier, got to give props to Rick Carlisle for that.
Yeah, that's. I think he's, Thibodeau is getting out coached. Not to, say that he's not a good coach because he is. I just think he's getting out coached. I think you always want to watch these counter moves with these NBA coaches, what they do in the next game because it's evolving. So that's why I'm always hesitant, like, I don't know. And then you see a team come back and you say, well, dang, how did they beat them by 15? They dominated. Well, they made some adjustments here or there. And so now what will be the counter? I don't know if they have anything or they just rely on their guys going one-on-one or Towns is, his knee's probably going to be bothering him. I mean, he was limping up and down the court even though he played well. You just don't know. Maybe rest will help him, or does it swell up? I mean, you're running for a living. So this is going to be a good one. I'm very curious and see how this one plays out in New York.
There's just such a unique balance that Indiana plays with. That's why
I love it.
I was real interested to see either of these teams against OKC. But after watching this particular series of games, I'm really excited for the NBA Finals.
Yeah. I think that's a brand. I think they play the brand I think most people like watching, and I think it may end up being good for the NBA as long as they don't
you don't
start giving them favorites.
Yeah,
right. Yeah, they start showing the favoritism. When I say that, I'm talking about some of the calls all go to the big market teams because they're trying to force something to happen here. Not to say that ever happened.
No, that never happens.
Yeah, so I really like how they play team ball, and that's why I liked OKC. And just to see the Pacers, I just didn't know they could get past the Knicks. Knicks. It looks like they will be able to. They got to finish it off, though, which is always hard to close out a team. But, yeah, man, I like the way both the Pacers and OKC play all day long.
So you got Pacers tonight. I think I'm going to go Pacers tonight. Jackson, pick a team. Pacers or Knicks?
Knicks take it to 6, where the Pacers win in Indiana.
He goes, Knicks take it to 6.
Oh.
I think he only did that just so he could say that rhyme. Is that right?
Sure. Is that what Ross say? Since he's in training.
Give me the Pacers.
There you go. 3 Pacers, 1 Knicks. We'll see how it ends up. Pacers money line, according to Knocktrop and the F&M Bank Chat on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook Live, is plus 150 tonight. So, may want to. The Vegas thinks Knicks are going to win.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see. That's not a big, wide margin, by the way. Plus 150 is not that wide, but hey, it's plus money right there. When we come back, we're going to talk about one of the Tennessee Titans' quote-unquote leaders that have not shown up to OTAs, and he is the only one. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone. Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by all four seasons garage door, 615-737-1045. We're going to be talking about Titans OTAs. We're also going to be joined by Easton Freeze of A to Z Sports. Talk about the new VR program that they are going. It's not new. It's new to Cam Warren. It's new to the Titans, but it's the same one that Jaden Daniels used last year. Talk about his experience with his hands-on attempt to actually do the simulation himself. They had to slow it down to 1/3 speed of normal. So, that should tell you that everything definitely moves faster than the NFL. Yesterday, when we were talking about our OTA notes and everything, we read off Teron Davenport said no sign of Jeffrey Simmons, Tavondre Sweat, Tyler Lockett, Kevin Zeitler, L'Jarius Sneed, and of course Lloyd Cushenberry. But the way he had it is like Lloyd Cushenberry was in there doing rehab. He was there at the facility. Later on, PK over at PK.com says Tavondre Sweat, Tyler Lockett, Kevin Zeitler, and L'Jarius Sneed were all there, as well as Cushenberry. The only person that was not at the facility in some form or fashion was Jeffrey Simmons. Now, this is voluntary OTAs. Okay, so normally I would not even, still don't consider this too big of a deal. But it is a deal worth noting because of the emphasis on leadership, leading by example, building camaraderie among this team. A lot of new pieces. Now, he's not a quarterback, right? It's maybe bigger for a quarterback to not show up at OTAs than a defensive lineman. But for a guy that has been, for better or for worse, considered a leader for a few years now on this team, a guy that is well loved by fans and everything, this seems like it's kind of a deal. This feels a little weird that in this kind of offseason with what they're emphasizing that he's not there. What do you think, Blaine?
Well, first of all, I'd love to hear the coach explain if he has an excused absent. And when I say that, I'm talking about there's a reason why the captain isn't on the ship, even though it's voluntary. This sounds totally against what Big Jeff is all about. So that is where I question what's going on here. I have no idea. Maybe he has some personal situation or a conflict of scheduling. But to me, I think the coach would have said that. He did not.
Yeah, because he said, when it comes to Sundays, I'm not worried about Big Jeff being ready for Sundays. Well, that's all fine and good, but that's not really the sticking point, I guess you could say.
Yeah, so I don't know. This once again leads to speculation. Was Jeff at last year's voluntary camp?
I'll have to look. I don't think he was he, at the voluntary OTAs?
When you're in a position as a head coach that you are looking for leaders, and one guy you have identified already as a leader, whether you agree with that or not, he is somewhat a leader on the team and been the face of the organization.
According to this Tennessean article from May 21st of last year, Tavondre Sweat, Jeffrey Simmons among Tennessee Titans not on field for OTAs on Tuesday.
But they were there, just not on the field.
That is more than likely probably what is true.
See, so I don't know. I know there's some off-field stuff going on, on his personal side. I don't know if that's got to do with conflicting with being at camp. I'm a little disappointed. It raised a red flag for me, to be honest. I just think
Knocktrop says the Bucs said on the last show, and he would probably remember best out of everybody. Bucs said the past 2 years, Jeff has opted out.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think, was it last year or 2 years ago, was contractual stuff. I think he was starting, and I don't know if it ever came to fruition that's he got another contract. But I could have swore something was going on there. Maybe it was 3 camps ago. I don't remember, but I remember there was talk there. And maybe we don't know. I have no idea. I think everybody's there but him. This is weird.
Is that okay? So I want to make sure I'm not trying to say weird. This is a sound the alarm kind of thing.
But it is definitely odd.
It's so odd, right?
Yeah,
because
I don't agree with him not showing up here unless there was something already planned, and then sometimes the coaches come out with the schedule, and you go, oh, dang, you let them know immediately, hey, I have something, that I can't miss. I have to be,
and we don't know what's going on with other personal stuff that came out a couple of weeks ago, with the that Terry McCormick reported on about the the personal stuff going on in Mississippi between him and the mother of a child and all that stuff. I don't know if maybe that's scheduled during all this either. I mean, but that's the issues that we don't know. So we're sitting here left speculating. I know that PK reached out to his agent, and his agent failed to respond for comment. So there could have been another thing right there. I mean, I would love to know why he's missing, because we're talking about a guy that we've seen train, right? We saw all his social media posts a couple weeks ago that he's out there training, hashtag double-digit sacks or whatever the hashtag is, and now he's not with the team. And it's like, I think a fan put this in perspective better than maybe we both could, maybe a little bit. But his name is Tim the Titans fan on Twitter. And I know that's not the guy that you probably expect to, go for good advice or anything. But, I mean, he said that I'm not out on Jeffrey Simmons, the player, but I'm out on Jeffrey Simmons, the leader. Can you separate the two in your mind? Because I get what he's saying, but I do have a hard time with one of your quote-unquote best players on this team not showing up when the heavy emphasis is on leadership.
Yeah, that's why it's a red flag for me. I don't want to speculate. I hope it's personal, but man, if it personal can also be turned into personal is also my contract.
Yeah,
so it could always be something. This one here, most veterans at a point where your team hasn't been successful over the last couple of years, and you've been part of that leadership, it's almost like required to be there. So that's why I think this is way deeper than that.
Because also not being there last year when you had so much newness as well, because you have new offensive coordinator, well, not for him, but new defensive coordinators, new head coach, new system, and you're not at those voluntary workouts, or you opted out of those voluntary workouts as well. And I have to say they're voluntary, but to me, there's a fine line. Every situation for every team is different, and every player is a little bit different, right? And what I mean by that is that the timing of this team and what they're trying to establish, you're the only player not there. Yeah. That is humongously bad optics. Like, I mean, just to the extreme. And what if you're a player, what does that say to you? Like one of these younger players or one of these other players that you're there rehabbing, or you're there working out, you're putting in your work. I would assume maybe they just move on with their day because they can only control what they can control. You can only control yourself, but it still kind of leaves a weird stench to it, right?
Well, when I'm saying weird, it has nothing to do with the other player. This is a business. So if you held out and decided not to come here, I'm not going to be mad at you not to come here and come to work. That's on you personally.
Yeah.
So I don't understand why people think it affects the team like that. It never does that. What is weird is that he is the leader and he is not there. Period. Yeah. And when they're looking for leadership, that's what's weird. So I want to say it's either personal or contractual. That's it. I don't think it's any other. And when I say personal, it means a conflict of schedule, probably. So nothing. I don't. Everybody is there.
Can I ask a question?
Everybody
about
is there,
the conflict of schedule. They're given this in advance, right? A couple of months in advance.
And you also know your schedule. And as I said before, you said, oh, that conflicts with what let's say you're getting married on that day. You don't know, they don't know what you were getting married at. That's a conflict of schedule. Yeah. I'm not going to miss my marriage. I mean, are you kidding me?
Right. But what if it's just a family vacation? Isn't that something you can probably reschedule? Is that something worth rescheduling? Because it's voluntary. And see, that's where I struggle, because it's voluntary.
I'm not talking about something like, you can't move that. Yeah. I'm talking about something that is unmovable.
That's unmovable.
Right. That's you could opt to change your time there.
I just wanted to get that clarification.
Yeah. So I'm saying conflict with a schedule that couldn't be moved. To me, your first and foremost priority is your team and your teammates and holding people accountable, including yourself. So I don't know. I just believe. I think if I was making a guess, I would say it's contractual. If I was making a guess.
Well,
Everybody's
there's been
there.
some rumblings about it, but nobody's been able to get it, anything confirmed.
Here's why I say that. If I'm leaning to him, I'm with that PK's agent. His agent didn't call him back.
Yeah.
Why didn't he call him back?
Right.
But
That's what I'm saying.
Why didn't he call him back, Jackson?
I mean, Terrence Johnson, and I think there are a few fans that feel this way. Terrence Johnson says, obviously you haven't seen the videos of him working out. It's a non-story, but he's working out away from the facility. He's working out away from his team. He's working out in an off season where they're trying to build leadership and camaraderie, and he's not there.
Yeah, but also the team has been bad the last 2 seasons. I mean, man, I'm gonna tell you one thing. You had an all off season, 3 days of showing leadership and demand that we're not what our record said we are. I mean, he should be pissed off for greatness with the talent that he has. So I would be there. And that's why I said there's only a couple exceptions, and those are the 2 I just gave. It's contractual, or it was a conflict with his schedule that he couldn't change. Yeah, that's it. There is no other reason not to be there when you won 3 games last year.
Right.
I'm sorry. There are no excuses.
Yeah, I agree.
Volunteer.
Okay, I was thinking maybe I was a little out of turn in thinking that.
I know people run with it's voluntary.
That's what it feels. That's where
if he was 10 years in the league, 4-time Pro Bowler, something to that nature, or a 12-year league Hall of Fame type player, like let's say Derrick Henry type player, then I don't think people have any questions. Because,
like DeAndre Hopkins missed OTAs last year. He didn't go through OTAs. He's been an all-pro Pro Bowler, right. Been around for a long time. Right. He can mesh well with he's been in all kinds of systems and can mesh well.
Year 12 or 10?
Something like that. I mean, he's been around for a while. So, last year I was like, okay, well, I don't really fault him for that, really. I mean, it may have hurt his chances of, maybe they wouldn't have traded him if he would have been around. But at the beginning of DeAndre Hopkins wasn't going to save the Tennessee Titans last year. And I look at Jeffrey Simmons and I'm like, man, this is just another piece of evidence for I think, from what we have kind of said on this show, is that just because you're the loudest person doesn't mean you're a leader. And this is just another piece of evidence where I struggle to call Jeffrey Simmons a leader. And if he's not, that's fine. I just don't want it put in my face and broadcasted by the team that he is, when obviously he's not.
Well, you're saying something totally different than what I said.
Okay.
I did not say that, did I? Did I ever say that I was questioning his leadership?
Not today, but we've talked about not just being the loudest person.
Right. Well, that is not what I'm talking about for this.
Yeah.
I said the team is looking for leadership,
right,
and this doesn't embody that. If he has an excuse, let me clarify.
Yeah, he's got to have an excuse.
That he is not there, and everybody is there. You and your team that you were on, Big Jeff, sucked last year. You won 3 games.
Oh, the last 3 years of their loss, to be honest with you.
I feel like this is contractual. I really do.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I have no inkling of that. But then with the PK and the agent, I'll call him back. That's
it's Occam's razor, right?
Yeah.
It's typically all this evidence is pointing to one thing, and it seems like it's contractual, and that's what it seems like.
What is he supposed to make next year?
I think he's guaranteed legit $11 million in cash or whatever. I mean, he's already gotten paid a buku amount of money up front, and I think after this year, I think after this year he could be cut or traded or whatever, and they save money. Obviously, a team wouldn't cut him or anything, but he's obviously trying to get an extension. It feels like a couple of years early.
Maybe this is what it's about. So I just feel like there's a reason. What that reason is, I have no idea.
And we may never know the reason. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there is a serious reason, right? But we know he opted out last year without a serious reason. And I don't know. I look at it, Blaine, and I just struggle. I just struggle with it because this is not the time that you need him absent, and not necessarily that you have to have him there being a leader, because you may have several other leaders to fill that void right now. It's just weird. It's a bad look on Jeffrey Simmons' part if it is contractual, because it's also very early into this new contract to be already seeking extra money.
3 or 4?
Yeah, we're entering in the third year, if I'm not mistaken.
Deal?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Let's go to the.
I don't think it's early.
You don't think it's early?
$11 million.
Well,
compared to what the other elite D tackles are making.
Because he's got paid so much of it up front. He's only getting $11 million in cash right now. But it's a 5-year deal. It was a 4-year extension after this year. But it's a 4-year extension off of 2023. So 2024, 2025, 2026, 2027. So his cap hit is 22.7. Now that doesn't really mean much. So we got to go to the cash breakdown. Okay, so what I read earlier was wrong. He's getting paid in cash $18 million. He got paid $25 million up front, $17 million last year, $18 million this year in cash. He'll get paid $20.6 million in cash next year and $23.5 million in cash in 2027. So he's getting paid a lot in cash.
How's that compared to all the money is big? Let's get that straight. But how's that compared to his peers that he thinks he's as equal with?
Well, I will pull that up as we go to Gorilla here, and he wants to talk about Jeffrey Simmons. Gorilla, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
What's going on, guys? I have another little twist to this here. Mm-hmm. Could it be he's kind of disgruntled about the rumors of him being traded for draft capital?
Mm.
Could that be it? Because, and that would only be relevant if there was any truth to that. Because there was a lot of noise about, huh?
I didn't hear that rumor, but that could be a factor.
Well, I'm on a little small social media thing, and it's just little rumors going back and forth, traded back and forth amongst individuals. There may not be anything to it at all. And now you guys just said something that he did the same thing last year, right? He didn't attend. So maybe it just could be his pattern.
Right. He definitely shown a pattern, but I think this one is a little bit different in that every year isn't the same year. And
you're
what he did last
correct.
year is different. You came off of you had the number 1 pick of the draft. Your team wasn't very good. You're trying to show that we're going to be better than that. There's certain things that players, say, oh, okay, he missed for this, but everybody's there. Everybody?
And Callahan has given us no real definitive answer why. That hasn't come out yet?
No, Jackson, did he say why? I think he said we know he'll be prepared and he'll be ready.
He'll be ready for Sundays. Like, he's the least guy I'm worried about being prepared for Sundays.
What's that?
That's generic. That's a generic response to that. All right, guys. Thank you for the insight, man. Keep going. You guys are the best show on radio.
Well,
man.
we appreciate it.
Bottom of my heart.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
It's Blaine. I don't know this other guy right here, man.
Oh, man. I'm just the other guy. It's Blaine and the other guy. That's what we're going to name the show. Cover 2 with Blaine and the other guy.
Well, he was talking about Jackson.
Oh, he's talking about Jackson. I don't even get the other guy mentioned.
I'll be the other guy.
That's even worse. I don't even get the other guy mentioned. It's just Blaine and the other guy, which is not me.
And this was actually really hard for me to say because it is voluntary, but if you're trying to change the course and trajectory of this team, I just think it's not voluntary. Unless there's
it's not voluntary to the rest of the players.
Obviously.
LaJercy, with all the stuff that is surrounding him,
he's even there.
He's even
in
there.
The facility.
Kevin Zeitler.
Well, he probably has to be there to rehab.
Yeah. Well, Kevin Zeitler, who's been there, he's there. Been around for years. On the field? No, he was on the field. He's apparently doing some rehab. Tavondre Sweat some rehab, but hell, it's just I don't know. It's just weird. To answer your question, cash per year for the next 3 seasons, including this one, he's 9th, and 4th. So he's 9th right now, 9th next year, and 4th in 2027.
Where do
in
you
terms
think
of
he
cash.
thinks he's at?
He probably thinks he deserves to be in top 3 or top 5 every year, is what I would assume. And I'm sure that's what most agents would tell him, and what most agents would do, and all this kind of stuff. But that's where he's at. He's for a defensive tackle. He's got and for his caliber of play that he's given, he's got a very respectable contract. in terms of what he gets paid relative to his peers. Now, obviously, there'll be new people that will get contracts and push that down. But you got to see some disruption. You got to see some double-digit sacks. You got to see a little bit more. And listen, I'm not discounting what Jeffrey Simmons did last year with his arm, what he played through. We don't know how he healed it up after the offseason.
We don't even know if he had surgery or not.
Yeah, we don't know anything about it. But, I look at it and I go, to me, he's really great on the field, but I got so many more questions. We'll continue to talk about this here when we come back. This is Cover 2 with Blaine and the other guy and Jackson here on 104.5 The Zone. Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Door. 615-737-1045 is the number. What do you guys think of the Jeffrey Simmons thing is what we want to hear from you, Titans fans. Let us know, 615-737-1045, or let us know in the F&M Bank chat on Zone TV, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook Live. Over here, Two Tone Productions on the F&M Bank chat says, nothing wrong with having fun. He's alluding to the pictures of Jeffrey Simmons and Tavondre Sweat and a couple players at a bar with Levis's ex. He just needs to be a leader and be at OTA, bottom line.
Yeah, ultimately.
And ultimately, I think that's where we all land. The trade thing that Gorilla brought up, I don't know if there was actually any actual rumors about it. It was more speculation that saying, hey, if you need more, if the Titans are wanting more draft picks, when you have a deep defensive tackle draft class, maybe Jeffrey Simmons is the guy that you trade to pick up a couple of extra picks. And granted, I think almost every show on radio has talked about it here locally. But at the end of the day, even if there were substantial trade rumors, I mean, maybe it does affect a player in a certain way, but still, don't you put that to the side when you see that you're not getting traded? Because there are just rumors.
Well, I mean, if there are rumors, I wouldn't even be thinking about them. So I don't know if it really.
That's how I
depends
feel
on the player. Really, it wouldn't bother me. I'd be like, hey man, they must be doing me a favor. Based off the state of the team, is where it's at. I mean, so
heck, I mean, Derrick Henry got traded to the Ravens, right? I mean, like, what? You saw DeAndre Hopkins go, or not traded, but they let him
free agent.
They let him go.
But that was a team that was interested in trading for him.
And then what about the Chiefs? They got DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, granted they didn't win a Super Bowl, but he had a much more enjoyable season than we did here in Tennessee. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they do you favors here in Tennessee. So,
it's just another sign. It's business. This is a business. So sooner you know that, the better. So I don't know if that's the situation here. I just think it's weird. Everybody's here is in attendance, even if you're not practicing, you're inside or rehabbing or what have you. So
everybody but Jeffrey Simmons is on the facility grounds.
So that's why I want to say it's an excused absence, even though it's voluntary or it's contractual.
Yeah,
I just think when you have a bad season like that, everything becomes not voluntary, becomes non-voluntary.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not it is not.
It's voluntary, but not voluntary.
I mean, that was already a notion, but I mean, when things happen like they did, I think it's a priority amongst the players unless something comes up, just on a personal level. And I think Big Jeff is just like that. That's why I think it's a reason.
Mm-hmm. Let's go to Gil, who wants to talk about Will Levis. Gil, you're on Blaine and Zach.
Hey, what's up, Blaine and Zach? Love talking to you guys.
Oh, thanks, Gil.
Yeah, what I wanted to say is with Will Levis is that in a perfect world for me, I would love him to be the backup quarterback and take on the competition with Cam Ward and push Cam Ward, how hard it is to get a good backup quarterback. But one thing that rubbed me the wrong way with Will is when he said that he got thrown into the fire last year. And it's like, man, come on now. Stop making excuses and just, it was the mental mistakes and the turnovers. I mean, we built the whole team around him with Hopkins and everybody, and we actually had to burn the whole team down. So I just would like to see him take accountability and see if he could actually be the backup or, he's auditioning for every other team to be a backup. So either we can get a pick or he can be a backup, but I don't think he got thrown into the fire. I just didn't think he was ready for it.
Thanks, Gil. I don't recall him saying that. Doesn't mean that I didn't miss it or anything, but I don't recall him saying that he got thrown into the fire last year. If he did, I definitely would disagree with that because you're in your second year of the NFL. But that's just how I kind of look at it like that. I mean,
I want to say he did say it, but I don't know when he said it. Like when that statement came about. Like, was it during the middle of the season when he was saying his shoulder, or was it at the beginning?
I don't know if he said it yesterday. I don't remember him saying that yesterday.
Oh, no, I don't think he said that.
Maybe Jackson can fact check that. But
I remember that sounded like something he would say, though.
I mean, if he did say that, that would be something. I mean, the parts that I saw of his media scrum were just very depressing. I've actually, for the first time, kind of felt a little bit bad for Will Levis. He looked very depressed. What you got, Jackson?
I've got something Will Levis said yesterday I think we can play.
Okay, let's do it. Let's see what he says.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I'll never forget it. I mean, I'm grateful for it. I mean, I feel like I'm going to look back and, that year, I feel like I got thrown absolutely everything at me, and nothing can really surprise me at this point. So, as much as it sucked while we were in it, like in retrospect, I think we can all say that we've learned a lot from it. And especially, Brian, the second year being a head coach, like I think, the first year, just like as a little test run, like he's already made improvements to his philosophy and just his way of going about things, which all of us have recognized and appreciated, just like everyone else has been trying to improve their everyday lifestyle habits.
Okay, so I think I think I've found the confusion here. So the chat put me onto this. So thanks to the chat, they're always on it. This chat. So Teron Davenport quoted a video and said, Levis said, "Nothing could really surprise me at this point." This is what he just said. I got thrown in the fire last year, and as much as it sucked last year, you can say we all learned from it. And then he goes and quote tweets that and says, correction here, Levis didn't say he got thrown in the fire. That's on me. I thought that's what he said when I tried to recall the post. My bad. Levis's actual words were, I feel like I got thrown absolutely everything at me, and nothing can really surprise me at this point.
Yeah, that's what he said just on that interview. Good job, Jackson.
Yeah. So good job. You found the right clip. And then good job to the chat. A+ to the chat for getting us to the right tweet to get that correction. We'll talk about that. Will Levis, Cam Ward, when we come back. We'll also go to Tom and your phone call, 615-737-1045. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 1045 The Zone.
Hey, folks, I've been talking about Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance for years because they're the leading experts in sports medicine and performance and the team physician for the NFL, college, and high school athletics across Tennessee. And TOA provides sports medicine coverage to more high school and college sports teams than any orthopedic group in the state of Tennessee. They have 29 locations throughout the state and over 100 physicians throughout Middle and East Tennessee to take care of all your musculoskeletal needs. And TOA has 11 urgent care locations with walk-in availability 7 days a week. They offer direct access to sports medicine and performance, physical therapy and nutrition, personalized rehabilitation plans to enhance mobility, reduce pain, and improve overall physical functions for patients recovering from injuries or surgeries. And TOA also offers sports performance training, a specialized program designed to enhance athletic performance and provide tailored training solutions for athletes at all levels. So please check out their services at TOA.com. Yes, that's right, TOA.com.
It is 1 o'clock. Good afternoon from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Jackson Williams. In the NBA, the conference finals continue as last night in the West, the OKC Thunder punched their ticket to the NBA Finals with a 124-94 win over the Minnesota Timberwolves. Thunder win that series 4-1. In the East, the Indiana Pacers will look to join the Thunder in the finals tonight. They lead the Knicks in that series 3-1 with a Game 5 tonight. Tip-off set for 7 p.m. In NFL news, former Titans offensive tackle David Quessenberry is signing a one-year deal with the L.A. Rams. Quessenberry played for the Titans in 2018 through 2021 and has spent the last 2 seasons with the Minnesota Vikings. Nashville Soccer Club played to a 2-2 draw with the Columbus Crew last night. Nashville had goals scored by Sam Surridge and Hani Mukhtar. They extended their unbeaten streak to 9 games with a matchup looming with NYCFC this Saturday. Kickoff at 3:30, and you can catch Will Bowling and Lucas Panzica on the call starting at 3 o'clock. For your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you need to visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Hour 2 of Cover 2 here on 104.5 The Zone. Got Blaine Bishop, Zach Lyons right here with you, taking you to 2:20 p.m. and we'll have Easton Freeze of A to Z Sports talk about the virtual reality system and more OTA takeaways the Tennessee Titans. We got Tom on the phone who wants to talk Jeffrey Simmons. Tom, you're on with Blaine and Zach. Hello, Tom.
Hey, this is Bob.
Bob?
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Hello.
Hey, Bob.
Yeah, I was just saying that I think you beat up on Big Jeff enough, and maybe we ought to talk about the 89 people that are there, not the one person that's not there.
Can you roll up your windows or something? I didn't really catch that.
Yeah, I said that you've beaten up on Big Jeff quite a bit here. We need to talk about the 89 people that are there versus the one person that's not there.
Gotcha. Thank you, Bob. I mean, it's a big deal. I mean, the people that are there, we talked about yesterday. We talked about those, a couple of different players. We'll also have Easton talk about those. But this is a somewhat of a big deal because of the situation of the team. Listen, I get that it's voluntary. I understand that part. I understand that he's working out elsewhere, but it is with the current state of where this team is at, what they're trying to establish, being the only one not there is a big deal.
Yeah, being the leader is, this one's a little fishy for me. For my taste, and I know it's voluntary and everything else, but for everybody to be there and they felt like it was mandatory, I want to hear why he missed. It has to be an excuse or I don't know, maybe a contractual issue. I don't know, but when you are you win 3 games, I think the importance of being there and being a leader is vital unless it was a conflict of scheduling. That's just nowhere right. Yeah, that really, man, I don't know, man. I hope it is that, but I don't think they're worried about if he will perform. I just think where the state of the team is and you're trying to develop leadership, I think this one's, we're going to have to let this one play out.
Yeah.
See what happens.
It will be interesting to see what happens there. I do want to talk about Cam Ward, a guy that was there. I've heard a couple of people talk about their takeaways from OTAs. And one of the things I've heard people talk about is that there's a difference between last year's start to OTAs and this year's start to OTAs in terms of the play calling on offense, where last year there were a lot of dump downs and screens and all this kind of stuff. Nick Suss of the Tennessean talked about this on the football show for the 440 Sports Network, but he said that last year it was a lot of that. This year it was a lot of Cam Ward or the quarterbacks themselves throwing over the middle of the field in tight coverage and all this kind of stuff. Less screens and dump offs to the running backs. In fact, Cam Ward, who got the most reps yesterday, even though he wasn't first in line, He ended up getting the most reps. He only had one pass to a running back out of all of his, I think, 20-something passes that he threw yesterday. Is there any takeaway for you in that? Because it is just OTAs, but that is a distinct contrast in how they opened up, at least to the media, OTAs this year.
I have no idea.
Okay.
I mean, it could be just the defense that they were employing and that they felt like the middle of the field was open, not being there, seeing it in person. And to me, this is all timing. This is all really the camp, the way it's set up now for all the teams is more offensive driven. So I wouldn't take a lot from, being so detailed and, oh, they had so many completions or, oh, they didn't. Or the defense gave up a whole bunch of, I just, this time here is about, okay, what did the guy look like running? Does he look like an NFL player? Naturally, you're going to see where Cam Ward is with just the throws, whether he had the most or the least. Like, how did he actually look? Did he have this air of confidence about him, even when he made a mistake? I mean, these are the things you look for, not actual production, because it's a skelly type feel that, the offense has no pressure. There's no speed up to it at all. So it's just really hard to see what really is real.
Yeah. Yeah, I just did think it was interesting, but I didn't know if there was a real strong takeaway to take from it other than, it's just what they did today.
I mean,
because isn't that kind of be what it is too?
Yeah, I know he keeps track, and that's always fun, and especially for the fans. And, I get it, but we won't know. I mean, Levis did really well last year, and then he went out there and stunk it up, So it's really hard until you see guys in the moment. Time, but you do want to watch certain things and everything else. But we got to have something to talk about watching them in practice, and I'd be more interested to see what do the young guys look like. Do certain veterans who's fighting for the linebacker spot, who is running with the secondary? Are they communicating a lot? Linebackers as well as on offense, they look like they were in sync. Did the offense change a little bit, as you're kind of mentioning a little bit here, with not a lot of dump downs? And how much is the defensive scheme? Because Wilson said,
that's right.
Did they change it, or were they still playing a lot of man to man? So this is the time to do a little tinkering, just to see what players like, what they feel comfortable with, especially your veteran players or your new quarterback. So that's what I would probably more so look at, big picture of what was really going on, but. Everything's, always going to be nice at this point in time until put on the pads. So I like looking at the pads because guess what? I've gotten fooled before watching guys as a player. Like, as a player, a guy come out like, oh, man, this guy's going to be good. I think I forgot the running back's name. Man, we put on the pads, man, he looked like he was running in the darkness. I'm like, what the heck happened? I mean, this guy.
Running like someone that turned the lights out.
All the tools fast, Kajabi, athletic. I was like, oh, man, this guy, he told me he's going to be something, man. Boy, I was like, that'll never happen again. We'll wait till we put the pads on.
And that's kind of what they said about that linebacker spot. And I kind of wonder, there are things you can take away from OTAs in terms of getting in and out of huddles, comfortable calling the plays, calling out stuff.
Under center.
Under center, yeah. Mm-hmm. But until you really put the pads on, it feels like it's all... You just don't really know until you put the pads on.
But it's exciting, because the guys are flying around, with no pads on. He's just like, man, dang, man, slow down. And sometimes a competitive spirit gets in the way here. Like, hey, man, that ain't like how it's going to really be.
Yeah.
Like, some of the defensive guys, like, hey, man, when you have shoulder pads on, I'm able to hit you right there. And it's not going to be just smooth sailing like this.
Right. And because there's also how much pressure do you really face in a 7-on-7 or 11-on-11 right now?
With no pads.
With no pads and all that kind of stuff, because it's just going to be, you're still trying to figure out, okay, there was a play that was described by Nick Suss where he was rolling out to his right, then Cam Ward threw across his body to the left side of the field where Jaquan Jackson is at, and it was a perfect pass, and Jaquan Jackson caught and dropped it, hit him right in the hands, and he dropped it. But he's saying, like, and then they were kind of talking about Levis looking a little bit stiff and then trying to compare that to what Levis looked like last year. And it's like, well, the pads aren't on. There's different pressure you're facing, different offensive lines. Like, it's hard to make those comparisons right now until we see what the pads come on at training camp. Let's go to James, who wants to talk about Jeffrey Simmons. James, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Hey, fellas, thanks for taking my call. I knew that Jeffrey Simmons wasn't a leader. They were trying to make him into a leader. Leaders are not made; they're just born. He's not a Kevin Byard. He's not somebody like that. I go back to what he did to Buck last year. I'm not a Buck fan, but still, he should have never did what he did. And for him to not be there and you call yourself a leader, I just can't get with that, man. And just what's going to happen when he doesn't play well. People are going to come back to this situation now. You're going to give them a reason to say this is why he's not playing well. So as a leader, I can't look at the guy as a leader, man. I like him as a player, but stay out of the interviews, stay out of all those things because, bruh, you're not a leader. And I just want to get you guys' thoughts on that.
Thanks, James. It's just tough because we're not in the locker room, right? And we don't know how players respond to Big Jeff and all this kind of stuff. But I do, from the outside looking in, look at this situation and a couple of other situations. He brought up the one with Buck where you're like, man, you've got to be able to understand you could have handled things differently. And listen, they put the water under the bridge on that one. All that's, gone and forgotten between them. They handled it outside separately, talking to each other. But again, I look at this we don't have a lot of information, and the coach doesn't seem to be too terribly upset that he's not there, though maybe there's a different feeling behind closed doors at the facility. But at the end of the day, you got to read the room, and I just feel like he's a guy that constantly fails to read the room.
Yeah, I think that's what we've kind of been saying the whole time. Yeah, so I just think the timing's different in that, just a bad team, bad time. To me, we need you to show up.
And the only one.
Yeah,
that's the sticking point to me.
I don't think the players are going to have an issue. I just think more so the optics of how that just looks.
Yeah.
Being that you're supposed to be one of the leaders.
Yeah. I mean, it's just...
Unless his contractual is excused, and he did not say that.
Right.
He did not. Now, it could be one of them, but he just didn't say.
Yeah.
The head coach.
Yeah. I look at it, and I go... Again, we don't know his reason for missing, but we know he is working out, right? So we know he's working out somewhere. So why can't you do that workout here right now in this moment? I understand that there have been other players like we've talked about. We talked about DeAndre Hopkins.
Well, that's it. That is his option, though.
Yeah, it is his option.
It's voluntary.
That's his prerogative. But again, it's just more of the reading the room aspect for me is that, yesterday when this first broke, I was like, oh, he's not there. Okay, big whoop. Because Tavondre Sweat was listed on that list. Kevin Zeitler, Tyler Lockett. Okay, well, it's not that big of a deal. Last year, he missed. Well, there was a big string of players that missed last year at OTAs that were missing, which, maybe they shouldn't have because it is all new.
So it's hard to single them out.
Yeah, it's hard to single them out. Mm-hmm. But now that we have come to find out that the rest of these guys were released on the facility, either in the film room, rehab room, working out, wherever they may be, they're there.
Rest day, whatever it was.
Whatever it was. He was the only one not. And that, to me, is just bad optics. No way around it. It's just bad optics.
Yeah, that's a tough one there. I want to hear an answer. I hope someone asks tomorrow. Maybe he shows up. Maybe he did miss for a reason.
Maybe he does. Do you think he shows up because he hears everybody kind of talking about the last 24 hours? Or that's why
Nah.
Because we know he is online.
Tomorrow is the last day, right?
I believe so.
Well, this week anyway.
Yeah.
But, I don't think he's going to come in for a day.
Yeah, probably not. Sometimes they even cancel that last practice, don't they? Or am I thinking of a different week of practices?
That has happened, but this team better not be canceling.
That's true. Unless they're going out to do some team bonding exercise like paintball or something.
Right.
But like they're just canceling because they had a good week of practice. They definitely don't need to be canceling.
Hey, man.
Well, we'll talk to Easton Freeze when we come back. He took a go on the virtual reality simulator that they are installing for Cam Ward. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what he saw at OTA, and we'll gauge his temperature on this whole Jeffrey Simmons conversation. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone. Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Door, 615-737-1045 if you want to get on the conversation. We've been talking about OTAs, Jeffrey Simmons, but now we're bringing in Easton Freeze, Titans beat reporter for A to Z Sports. And he recently wrote an article called Titans Are Following Game-Changing VR Trend in Order to Ensure Cam Ward is prepped as possible for his rookie season beyond. Cam Ward has taken a page out of Jaden Daniels' playbook, who took a page out of Brock Purdy's playbook. I'm sure there was probably someone before Brock Purdy. Easton, before we get into that, have you commissioned the Hall of Fame bust for Xavier Restrepo after one OTA? Well, thought we were ready. Are we ready now?
I think I was muted.
I think you were muted.
Hello?
Oh, that's on you?
Yeah.
Or on us?
I don't know. It said the host had me muted. I hit the unmute button,
that's Ross. That's Ross's fault. So we'll have to.
Ross is not even in there.
Oh, Jackson, you were pointing over there like Ross was over there. So I apologize to Ross. That is your fault.
Oh my!
Well, I'm here now, and yes, I saw them already chiseling his bust. They're already fashioning that for the Hall of Fame. It's clear he's dead. I mean, I saw him sitting next to Cam when they were stretching and everything. It's over.
Yeah, you took that picture. And now everybody's made their header, which I find very pathetic. I just want to throw that out there. A great picture, but I mean, come on, it's just guys stretching. Let's settle down here. Cam Ward is taking a page out of Jane Daniels' playbook, the VR.
Okay.
So my first question to you, because I know you talked to the people doing the VR, you've done it yourself, you've talked to Brian Callahan about it. My question to you is, why not do this last year? Why are they doing it now?
He's muted again.
My God, what is going on over there?
No, he's frozen, I think.
Oh, he's frozen.
He's frozen.
Oh, it's tough.
Oh,
that's a tough
his
situation.
internet.
He knew he didn't have an answer.
Well,
so I guess.
Here, I'm going to answer for him.
Okay.
Oh, here you go. You ready? You ready, Easton? What is happening? How
Okay,
can we
so
not
He
hear
has
him?
himself muted again. Whenever he joins the meeting, he starts muted. He has to unmute himself.
Hello.
Okay, there we go.
Oh,
What is happening on this radio interview?
This is now.
We're
First off,
falling
this
apart.
is your internet.
Easton.
Was that my end?
That was your
Easton,
end.
if this happens one more time, you have to shave your beard and mustache to come on our show.
And head. Let's go full head.
Oh,
Maybe eyebrows too.
That's a whole nother animal right there.
And everybody's saying, well, it's an appropriate last name for Easton because he always freezes.
Oh my.
All right. Okay, so why this year and why did they not do this last year when this was a known thing in the NFL? Unbelievable.
No way.
Okay, so just call Easton. I mean, unbelievable.
I think it's because Jackson switched everybody's picture around. Notice that.
Jackson, did you do that again?
What are
He
you
just
talking
wanted to have
about?
fun. He gets bored back there.
Yeah. I mean, he's just moving around pictures and everything. So we're going to call Easton.
The Iceman.
Now, you said that you had a thought to this question.
Well, I mean, I would say because as a coach, you want to say we did everything we can once again.
Yeah.
Hey, if it worked for Jaden Daniel, maybe it'll work for us. I don't know if it will or won't, but hey, I'm open to trying new things. Why not?
I get that, but it's been around since Brock Purdy was a rookie. And even before Brock Purdy, I believe it was Nick Foles or Nick Mullins that was actually using it in San Francisco. So this technology's been around for a while.
Well, you wanted to, first of all, let other people be the guinea pig, and then you ease on up in their third year. I'll use this too. Let's see if it's working for them. Let's see if it actually really works for my guys.
Gotcha. All right, Easton. Third time's the charm here. We've had to go.
Guys, what's up?
We've had to go analog on you and go through your rotary phone
Mr.
at home, your
Freeze.
landline. Okay, so why not use this last year when you had Will Levis in and you got him, trying to learn a playbook? So why not use this tool that's been around for a while for Will Levis last year, and why are you bringing it in just now for Cam Ward?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think there's a number of things. This is something that in the piece, I talk about how Brian Callahan, this was on his radar for the first time a couple of years ago in Cincinnati. I think that this technology has kind of been making the rounds in NFL trade shows or whatever they do to show off new tech to one another. So it's a known thing, and I think that for one, last year, he and his staff were really focused on setting up a thing for the first time, being new in the building, and that probably wasn't at the top of their list of priorities. I don't know how much Will Levis is or was inclined to use it. I'm not saying that he's somebody that doesn't want to use it, but I do know that with Cam, he came in as a draft prospect interested in implementing that technology, and he has a relationship with Jaden Daniels, and so they had talked about it, and so he was interested in it, and Brian said that was a big part of, after they had their 30 visit with him in March, accelerating the timeline for them to get this thing up and ready for May OTAs. So I think that his interest combined with the Titans' knowledge of it and interest in getting it set up this year, especially after last year, the storyline, the narrative of, hey, VR is a real thing and there's a quarterback in the NFL that's using it and preaching the utility of it on prime time every other week because it's an NFC East team, like that can kind of push the ball along a little bit too.
Drew Lock used it at Missouri back in the day, according to Don Davenport. So she said it's been around for forever.
Is that right?
That is right. So, I have to trust
Drew
Don.
Lock was winning games and everything.
Yeah,
That's
there
awesome.
you go. So with this system,
didn't help him.
Yeah, that's true. Did I don't know. You wanted him last year.
I did, but I'm talking about his
Or
performance.
this year.
His
Yeah.
performance. Yeah.
Obviously, there's an input control here. What does the syllabus for this thing look like for Cam Ward that the Tennessee Titans like? They obviously want him to see certain different coverages, certain different speeds, and all this kind of stuff throughout the year. So what's for lack of a better term, the syllabus for using this thing?
So it depends on the setting. There's a 1-player and a 2-player mode, for lack of a better way of putting it. If Cam is just taking it home and using it on his couch, kind of in a sandbox mode, he can sit in the virtual room and on the virtual screen using the handheld controller, choose his plays, choose his settings, and he can sit there, and if he wants to run every single play in the Titans playbook against every different type of base defensive look to see what those things all look and feel like, he can do that on his own. And he can toy around with the speed. As you pointed out, you can set it to 1.5 or 2 times speed so that you can kind of use it as a mental batting donut, where it is going to get you used to a much faster speed than you're seeing on Sundays, so that when you're actually out there in the field, things feel slowed down for you. If you're playing with a teammate or a coach, if he and quarterback coach Bo Hardigree are sitting there and Bo wants to use it kind of as a testing mechanism, he can use the iPad and see what Cam sees in the headset, and he can hide things from Cam's point of view and decide what plays to run and what coverages to throw at him without him knowing, and essentially say, okay, I'm putting 5 seconds on your clock, the play is going to pop up on your screen, and you're going to have 5 seconds pre-snap to think about it, and then you have to make a read and make a decision, now go. And they can go back and forth and do that. And if there's a moment where there's a teaching point, the person on the iPad can pause and go frame by frame, and you can dissect what is happening on the play in that way, kind of like you would, pausing, rewinding the tape on a whiteboard from a game or practice tape.
Is this all a mental stimulant, or is there a physical aspect too that builds repetition and being able to sense pressure? Because obviously virtual reality games, I don't know if you ever played Drunk Barb Fight. I've played that, and I've seen one of my friends punch another friend in the face by accident because he was why he has it. But you're moving around and all this kind of stuff. Is this something where you can build repetition physically, or is this all just a mental stimulant?
The physical repetition you can build is with your head movement and your eye movement. So it's not a arm mechanic tracker where it's about, the way that you throw the ball physically. You just sit there and flick your wrist to throw the ball with the handheld controller. That part, you're not practicing your technique. What you are physically doing, though, is moving your head around in space, and it has the ability to track your eyes as well. And so all of that stuff can be when you pre-program the plays into the software, all of the coaching notes are in there as well. And so it knows when and where you're supposed to be looking, what your read is supposed to be with this play against this kind of defense. And hey, if the nickel is showing blitz, you're supposed to check the hot. Like all of those things that you'd have as coaching notes on a whiteboard, the game knows that because they've plugged all of that in. And so it's able to grade you, score you based on how you do with those things when and where you're getting your head around and getting your eyes around the field.
We're talking all things Tennessee Titans with Easton Freeze of A to Z Sports.
Well, Easton, we've been talking ad nauseum about Big Jeff not being at camp. Do you think something's up to this voluntary camp where he is the only individual not in the building, or is that just going a little too far?
I don't know. I mean, we've talked all offseason so far about how it wouldn't shock any of us if he was interested in renegotiating or changing some things around with his contract. I talked on 3HL about that a month or two ago, and that's mostly speculative. Like, I just look at the fact that there's not a whole lot of guaranteed money left. He's somebody that is staring down the barrel of his prime on a team that's rebuilding and probably wants financial incentive to dedicate his prime years to a team that may or may not be good in the near future. But I also think, on the nothing, something, everything scale, it's definitely just a something, because he's also one of the only guys on this team who fits the criteria of good and old, right? Like, this team doesn't have many good old guys who have the kind of juice to not be around. It's mostly young guys who are good and proving themselves, or old guys who are in some kind of roster competition because hopefully the young guys beat them. So if the Titans had more guys that were Jeffrey Simmons caliber, old and good players, and he was still the only one not there, I'd probably be more surprised by that.
All right. Did you have some? Oh, did you have some? Oh, okay.
That was him breathing.
Oh, okay. Well, he said Freeze, who is not frozen at this point in time. Naturally, Will Levis has been a big topic of conversation. Naturally, he's going to lose a job just because the number one pick of the Titans was a quarterback. But do you think he was dealt a bad hand, or would you say it's more on him that he's in the situation that he's in?
Dealt a bad hand.
That means he didn't have receivers, he didn't have offensive tackles.
Yeah.
And some of that's on him too.
I don't. Was it a perfect hand? No. Was it a great team that he was a part of? No. Was there a lot of extenuating circumstances that weren't fully in his control that led to the team being bad last year? Totally. But that's life, man. That's life in the fast lane. That's life in the NFL. And how many highly drafted quarterbacks, or really quarterbacks at all, get dealt an awesome hand? There aren't many of them. And when they are, they're the exception. It's like, wow, look at the situation Brock Purdy has to work in. Wow, look at how nice it is around Jalen Hurts. For most guys, it's not like that, because being good in the NFL as a team is really, really hard. And so I wouldn't say he was dealt a bad hand. I'd say he was dealt an imperfect hand, and that's what most quarterbacks are dealt. And he didn't show, frankly, really any ability to be a floor raiser for an imperfect situation. He wasn't able to rise to the occasion.
Well, let me ask you this to piggyback off that. Would you say that Cam Ward is walking into a better situation? And if Will Levis had this situation last year, we'd be talking about a different kind of quarterback scenario? Or do you think that Will Levis is who he is no matter what the situation is?
Yeah, I want to be fair to Will, because I do think that Cam is walking into a better situation. If Will had this situation last year, would they have won more games? I do think that they would. But would they have won enough? I think they would have won enough games to take them out of the running for Cam Ward, but not enough games to make anybody confident that Will Levis is the right guy for the future. I think you'd have been kind of in limbo, and that would have obviously been a much worse place to be in than you are today. I don't think that this situation, if Cam Ward was out of the picture suddenly and Levis is now your starter this year and everything else remains the same, I think that it's a better year for him and for them, in part because it's another year of development for him and because he's in a better situation. but I just don't see it being a great one because I don't think that he's in a place in his career right now where mentally he is fit to be an above average starting NFL quarterback. I'm not ruling out the ability for him to develop into that, but I don't think that he's there right now.
We're with Easter freezing. I saw the Caleb Williams, the number 1 pick 2 years ago, and the book come out, and his dad say that, the Chicago Bears were quarterback killers and all that. And he was trying to explain all that. And I don't know if I would have addressed it, but he did a really good job trying to address that. It made me think about how do you think of the Tennessee Titans when it comes to quarterback? And I'm going to name some of them. VY, okay. Jake Locker, Marcus Mariota, Will Levis. What is your perception of the Tennessee Titans when it comes to quarterbacks?
I mean, they're certainly not a franchise known for quarterback development. But I think my retort is how many organizations are known for their quarterback development. I don't think it's many of them. And I think for the most part in the NFL, pretty much every team wanders in the desert until they find a guy, and then they hold on for dear life to that guy, and he's awesome for as long as he can be awesome, and then you're back in the desert. And unless you're the Packers and maybe it's luck, maybe it's magic, the way that they are able to go stud to stud to stud from decade to decade to decade. You aren't doing that, right? Like this, you look at the Steelers, and it's like they figure it out with Roethlisberger, and he's awesome for 12 or 14 years or however long it was, and now they're where they are, and they've been in the desert like the Titans have. A lot of teams will, to try to avoid being in the desert, find a guy that's all right, that's decent, and cling to him for a while, and you make do with that until people get fed up, but you don't actually go anywhere. I'm with you that the Titans don't have a great recent track record. I mean, the Titans at all, because the Titans are a young franchise. That's the Titans, right? Outside of a guy, they don't have a great track record of homegrown quarterback development. But that's a lot of different coaches, a lot of different eras, and I just don't know if there's like a through line there that points to the Titans being uniquely disastrous for quarterbacks like you can kind of do with the Bears of a much longer history of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no doubt about it. One thing Denard Wilson said, my last question is, he talked about Cam Ward always finds the open guy. Has that been your perception out there watching practice? Because I haven't watched him.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to one practice, so based on the one
or at least
practice
on that
I have
day,
seen
let's say.
Right. I mean, from just yesterday, the thing that stuck out to me, I mean, I definitely think from having watched his tape that he is somebody that, some quarterbacks are, I don't want to say reliant, but they really lean into the guys that they know are the stars of their team. And for good reason, right? Like they lean on the guys that are volume receivers, that are the home run hitters, and they primarily, you can tell that they're looking for those guys in the read. And then some guys tend to play quarterback more agnostic, and they tend to not be afraid to maybe ruffle some feathers, because it's an ego thing too. You gotta manage personalities, and some guys expect more targets because they're better players. I don't think Cam Ward is all that worried about that kind of thing. In college, his favorite receiver tended to just be the guy that was open. And so it takes an unselfish team to pull that off, and it takes a quarterback who's capable of being a leader that isn't questioned in that way. I think Cam is capable of those things. I think this Titans team is capable of being that kind of team. And the thing that stuck out to me most from watching him in person for the first time yesterday was that, and I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, like we'll see, but this time of year, to me, I want to see quarterbacks in practice really push the envelope, right? And you hear coaches talk about this a lot too. This is the time of year to make mistakes, to test windows, to try stuff. And he was the only guy of the four on the field yesterday who I don't think he ever once checked down to a running back. He was looking to push the ball down the field just about every time he dropped back. And there were times that meant he held onto the ball for way too long, and it was a practice rep that didn't mean anything. But he wasn't somebody that was going to waste everybody's time by just dumping it off to Tony Pollard in the flat after bouncing around down there. He was pushing the ball to the middle of the field. He was pushing the ball to the boundaries. And that stuck out to me when you compared him to the other three quarterbacks. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. This time of year, I prefer that. Obviously, you want to see that adapt once you get into August and September, but I liked it yesterday.
Easton, to close us out here, what is the one thing? I mean, you obviously were for the first day, first open to the media practice of OTAs last year. You're there for Brian Callen's first one. You're here for Brian Callahan's second one. It doesn't have to be Brian Callen specific, but what have you noticed the most that has changed from year one to year two as far as how the practices have moved or behaved or this or that?
The intensity. I could feel a change in intensity yesterday. And it's not dramatic. It's not like they were loafing around last year by any means. And this is not, I'm not even just talking about the players. I'm talking about every single person that is employed by the Titans that is out there on the field. They are moving with a purpose that, I think is new. I think that they took practice seriously last year, but I think that the energy, kind of the vibe is, hey, we sucked. We got a lot of work to do to not suck, and everybody's job is on the line here. And so there's just kind of that level of urgency out there on the field, which I think is impressive in May, and I think is a credit to the offseason program, the culture that they're trying to build, and the way of life that Brian Callahan is trying to instill in everybody here. But that's the biggest takeaway for me is that I think everybody, and we heard, I think it was Kaharski who was reporting that with these first two voluntary practices, one that we went to, one that we didn't, the Titans had 90 out of 91 players in attendance, which is pretty phenomenal. I think that that's a sign of that buy-in as well.
All right, Easton, we appreciate it. Easton Freeze of A to Z Sports, you can go read his article to find out more about the virtual reality system that they're using, that Jaden Daniels used, that they're now using for the quarterbacks here in Tennessee. Easton, there is a thing called gig internet. I expect you to have that next time we try to do Zoom.
Okay, I'll get on that. I'll make some phone calls.
No more DSL when we call.
Giggy.
All right, thanks. When we come back, we'll close up our conversation about the Tennessee Titans and Cam Ward. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone.
Have you noticed how unreliable things have become these days? Like when someone tells you it'll be ready at 4 p.m. and it's not? People are really tired of that stuff. So if you've had it with the unreliable vehicle repair shops, come on over to Eurofix. Eurofix turns unreliable into reliable, and Eurofix has your vehicle ready when it's really ready and when they say it is, so you're not standing around waiting all freaking day. And Eurofix repairs all European cars with quality that beats the dealer and without the dealer pricing. And that's because dealer repair shops are designed to pay virtually all of the dealership's overhead, and that's a lot of money. And why would you want to pay for that? Well, a Eurofix Reliable also means 3-year nationwide warranty plus a free loaner car with every repair appointment. So make sure you call ahead, as loaner cars are very, very, very popular. So if you are tired of the unreliable repair shops, come on over to Reliable, and that'll be Eurofix. Family owned for 26 years. And all you have to do is just give them a call at 844-EUROFIX. That's right, 844-EUROFIX, or you can just visit them online at myeurofix.com. That's myeurofix.com. But always done blazers, huh?
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Door. It's the last call for phone calls here on the show as 3HL comes up next. We've been talking about Jeffrey Simmons, Cam Ward, Pacers versus Knicks, so feel free to call in with whatever you want to talk about under those little topics right there. But I want to take a trip back to 2022 to when the Tennessee Titans had drafted Malik Willis. And Ryan Tannehill was asked about being a mentor to Malik Willis. And if you all remember correctly, people threw a fit. It was on Good Morning Football. It was Kurt Warner was weighing in. Everybody was weighing in on this innocuous comment that really meant nothing in the big scheme of things. Yesterday, Joe Flacco was asked about being a mentor into a young quarterback room, and here's what he had to say.
Talking point, you can kind of like use it like because it's a good question to bait somebody into answering, and no matter how they answer it, it kind of makes the guy that's answering it look bad. If I say I don't want to be a mentor, I look bad. If I say I do want to be a mentor, then I look like an idiot that doesn't care about being good and playing football. So it's one of those questions that no matter what I say, you guys can write what you want to write about it. And there's a lot of questions like that. That's why you end up having to try to avoid them. I tend to try to be honest. And I've said I'm not a mentor. I play football. And in a quarterback room, there's a lot of times there's been a ton of times where there's learning experiences. And I have a lot of experience and I can talk on things. And hopefully they listen. But it's not necessarily like my job to like make sure they listen to me. And, hey, like hopefully you have a really good relationship with the guys that are in the room. And you naturally want to do that. But that was a long-winded answer, but that's ultimately why I think you guys ask it, Here's the thing is, like, because of what I just said, like, you're acting like I wouldn't want to be a mentor. It's like, once again, it's not really about that. It's just not the main focus. I see myself as a guy that can play in this league. So if your main focus was just like, hey, but I'm going to get you ready, you're just not taking care of business. The best way to be a mentor, honestly, is, like, show people how you go to work, and like I said, hope that they pick up on that stuff, but not necessarily force them to pick up on the things that you do.
He's getting universal praise for his handling of the answer. Now, it's not lost on me that answer is way more in depth than what Ryan Tannehill said. But this was the exact thing I was trying to tell people at the time that Ryan Tannehill meant. What are your thoughts on this whole mentor, leader, all this kind of stuff? I called it Mentorgate at the time.
Mentorgate.
But right now, I mean, obviously, he's got a lot of young quarterbacks in there. You could even probably throw in Kenny Pickett in as the young quarterback, even though he's got a few years of experience. But what is your thought process on the vet-rookie, vet-young player relationship and mentorship?
Well, I think the dynamics is always different depending on where you're at. Now, if Flacco was the proven guy proven guy that he's going to be the starter, I think then there's some parts of you that you want to convey to them, down the road. Now, they have to take in the information, too. Now, I tried to mentor some people today, but I thought I was lying to them. I'm like, what are you talking about, man? So, I love how he answered that because he was so honest and true about the whole situation. It's not his job. It's not my job or anybody else's job. But if they ask you a question, hopefully they'll ask an educated question where you can give some answer and they'll take it in and maybe do it a little bit different or their own style. That's what I tried to do. I never actually tried to be like the mentor to someone. Is if you ask me a question, hey, I'm going to be observant and I'm going to give you the best answer I can. I was observant. I watched. I didn't really ask questions to veterans because I understood that, that I'm the threat to get their job. So my job was to watch what they do and put my stick on it and pay attention. So at the same time, if I want to ask them a little small question or a detailed question, they would answer them. But I never feel like that they had to be a mentor. Yeah,
because I tried to get this across. There's a difference between being a leader and a teacher in moments and a mentor. A mentor is like a totally different thing. I don't think people really understand what a true mentor is. And I think that's where the disconnect happens a lot in some of these conversations, that people think, well, you're a leader or you're the veteran, So that means you have to mentor the young guy. That's a mentorship is like you take the guy under your wings and he follows you around everywhere all day. He comes home with you and all this kind of like a mentorship is totally different than just being a leader and a good teammate. And I think ultimately what Joe Flacco is describing is how most people view it. He's just going to be a good teammate to these young guys, but it's up to them to take the next step because you are trying to develop the next generation of players in some form of fashion because you may not be around this team for a while. Someone's going to have to step in, but it's up to them to learn how to be a pro. You can answer their questions. You can lead by example, but like he said, it's up to them to follow that example and to learn what you're trying to convey to them.
Well, to be honest, naturally we're talking about all men.
Yeah.
So there's ego involved. There's all of that. You don't want to look, silly asking a question to a vet guy who's approving that you're actually going to take his job and probably you may not even be on the team.
Right.
Think about that now. So I think once you, put that, door down or window down and say, hey, man, I'm open to being teachable and coachable and being a pro, then boom, sky's the limit for that player.
There you go. Real quick, let's end the show with going to Sean. Sean, you're on with Blaine and Zach.
Hey guys, I listen always to your show. It's lovely. It's I get to learn a lot of things. I just want to say that just as you explained it, mentorship coming up from a person that want to take a feedback and a guidance. I mean, the type of business that I am, the age doesn't matter. As you said, the experience matters. So if somebody in the field can find a pick or a very small point and giving it to you, it's up to that player to take that point. If it doesn't take it, doesn't matter how many days you spend time. But if he will take it, just like as a little small feedback and can take it to the daily basis and work on it, that's where the mentorship, you can say, hey, this guy's my mentor. But technically, if that person, it doesn't have that capability of you not teaching, like to give him some feedback. Let's say they have a big bad ego or like a big ego or like a big head, say, hey, you know what, you can't tell me what to do. But if somebody give you a feedback and you open to the feedback, I think either person can be your mentor. So I think bottom line is it's a start from the player to take a feedback from his veteran, quarterback.
We agree. And that was a great way to end the show. No notes right there. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 105 The Zone. 3HL's up next. And in the meantime.
And in between time. Peace.
Two Rivers Ford announces employee pricing for everyone. Every tradesman, every dad, every rising star. You pay what we pay. Two Rivers Ford. Locally owned. American made.